Hi everyone, and thank you so much for waiting so long for this video. It was a hectic couple of months for me, and now I'm back on track with my astrology and numerology readings of your favorite celebrities. In this video, I will do a full reading of Jungkook's confirmed actual date of birth, which is 3:23 p.m. and not a.m. Through numerology and astrology chart, we will explore his character, personality, secret talents, previous incarnations, or in other words, past life mistakes, as well as money channels, and most wanted, as I believe, what kind of woman he searches for, his wifey material type, let's say. But that's going to be in part two, which I will release next week, so be ready for that as well. I also included a part of astrology which is not commonly analyzed, i.e., planetoids, and the part which many don't even know how to read and analyze in the chart, such as where does his karma, spirit, and soul lay. For those who don't know, these are the three main pillars of your incarnation on Earth, so knowing them is kind of vital. So we'll look at Jungkook's pillars, and hence I hope you really enjoy it. This video will not be short as I will talk about all different parts of his life, and I don't want to miss out on anything, hence I highly advise you to get yourself a cup of tea or hot chocolate, or maybe for someone a glass of wine, who knows, and get cozy, as well as give a thumbs up under this video for energy balance and subscribe if you want to enjoy more videos like this. Okay, so as I mentioned in my previous video where I went wrong with his time of birth, cough cough, he did not specify, so not my fault. His personality can be shown through multiple aspects, not just his rising sign, and any professional astrologist will agree with me. Sun, his ego; Moon, his comfort zone and feelings; Mercury, his speech and thought, which are, by the way, all in Virgo, matters so much more than the rising sign, as the rising sign mostly shows the shell, and I sometimes also call it the mask of the person. It is the first impression as well as the physical characteristics which can be added by the planets, like in the first house. Like in the case of our dear Cookie, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter, even though Jupiter specifically is on the verge between first and second house of money, but about that later. Let's talk more about his rising sign now. He is perceived by others as Capricorn, as it is the sign which his rising sign falls into, meaning when meeting him for the first time, you will feel the vibe of a calm, reserved, close, and without unnecessary emotion kind of person, which usually would bring a desire to distance yourself from them at first. They often have a serious face or even a poker face, making it very hard to nearly impossible to read in regards to what the heck is going on inside of their mind. However, his Neptune, a planet which rules our subconscious and cravings for everything mysterious and Kabbalistic, being in his first house, will lure you into wanting to get to know him as a person, the charisma out there, and making you want to solve him like murder mystery, as well as Uranus trine with Pluto, adding on very unique physical features and self-image to him, making him stand out in the crowd. And finally, as a cherry on top, Neptune being a ruler planet of Pisces, further giving the carrier of a chart beautiful and mesmerizing eyes as deep as the ocean, literally making you want to drown in them. Jungkook's style of clothes, black, dark grunge, and elegant suits, fit his rising sign perfectly, hence he attracts so much popularity around himself, because well, if you dress up according to your natal chart aspects, you become more in your energies and hence attract what you want and need into your life. In general, a person with a moon and an earth sign like Virgo, Moon is the planet of our subconscious and emotional security, perceives the world with caution and distance. They are serious and inclined to subordinate their emotions to reason. Moreover, a square to Pluto in Jungkook's chart signifies his doubts towards trusting others so easily, keeping everything inside of himself in public, exploding when finally finding solitude. The person can become very toxic towards his own self, literally eat himself out, and be unable to calm down for a long time if something has affected him. Yet they will never show it. People with this aspect have a lot of inner tension and can intentionally manifest negativity into psychosomatic illness. This is one of the most insidious aspects, not gonna lie. However, what the moon with this aspect despises the most is authority over them, desire of others to control them, gaslight and pressure into doing something that they do not want to. People like Cookie sense manipulators from across the room and literally have an allergy to their tricks. With age, they do learn how to avoid it, so it does take time. Overall, they just do not tolerate people in power with a tyrannical character and therefore choose seclusion and isolation, lead by themselves. Moreover, looking at the numerology chart perspective, his dominant energies are 1 and 9, archetypes of the magician and the hermit. This is an interesting combination because the magician is a born leader and innovator, whilst the hermit is someone who tries to stay away from the crowds as he prefers his own space and comfort. That confirms his moon in Virgo, by the way. As well as ninth archetype implies that he doesn't like to socialize much, as he may worry that others may not understand where he is coming from, but actually he has a lot of wisdom to share with the world. It's deep there inside of him. If you notice too, he did mention a couple of times that he prefers staying at home and sleeping to going out. That's a very hermit-like trait. Nevertheless, when these two energies, first and ninth archetype, combine, they in total give off the characteristics of a person who can reach his goals alone without anyone helping or supporting them, as well as meaning that he can become the alpha of the pack and make others follow him. But he decides not to do that and remains in the group, following the initial leader like a hidden gem. Yet since summer 2023 and his release of his song 7, which we all absolutely loved, his archetype of the magician, which is an independent individual that chooses his own path and makes decisions by himself, has finally shown its colors. The hermit side of him, though, still overweight and will always overweight, as it is not just in the middle of his numerology chart, but all over it, making him susceptible to others' feelings, empathetic, and sensing other people's energies. He gets very concerned if it disappoints those who he has formed strong connections with, like the army and the BTS. One of the examples which I couldn't not give and that I found really, really, really cute was when he shared his concerns for one of his lovers' lives in August in regards stressing out for ruining Suga's concert, and that he could have disappointed his fans and Suga himself due to a small tiny mistake, which by the way no one even really noticed he did whilst performing that night. Let's move on to his sun now. The sun in Virgo in the second house indicates that his life's focus and self-esteem are directly linked to material resources, health, art, and a level of prosperity. One of his ego's goals is to have the ability to buy and get whatever he desires, financially wise. Also, those whose dominant energy is one mainly focus on achievements, becoming first in everything, and taking as many responsibilities as possible. Remember, as I said, archetype of the magician always tries to be the leader. However, it's the ninth archetype that kind of like puts a bit of a pressure and restraint to this archetype. They're an interesting kind of mix. That's kind of the overall theme of the first and the ninth archetype. The sun also shows that a person focuses on what they charge themselves with and gain energy from in order to achieve heights. In his case, our Jungkook, with a sun in Virgo, it is health procedures and prevention, taking care of pets, routine work like cleaning, cooking, helping, and benefiting others. And also with the placement on the eighth house, saving others, for example, volunteering. Yeah, it goes pretty much the same with helping and benefiting others. Taking risks, attending and performing at mass events such as rock concerts or just overall any concerts, which he does, and that boosts his ego, like it energizes him. And since the moon is also in the same house and the same sign, it means that all these points don't only apply to his battery that he charges with, but also it's the way that he relaxes. If we delve deeper into the moon's indication in the eighth house, it shows that a person relaxes only after experiencing stress, some emotional shock, solving a problem, or successfully taking risks outside of their comfort zone. So it can be sports, scandals, thrillers, sex, horror guests, amusement parks, and many, many other things. But if we consider other aspects, which I will talk about further, I would say that in case of our dear Cookie, it's all about finding the balance between the stress and the time when he just can relax. Like he can allow himself to not constantly take himself out of the comfort zone. Let's now talk more about a very important planet in his chart, which is Mercury. Well, first of all, Mercury is the planet of communication, speech, and vocals. And considering that his whole career and his whole life is related to singing, it does play a vital role. But disregards that, Mercury is also a ruler planet of the zodiac sign Virgo, where his sun and his moon are about, as I already just mentioned. So, yeah, it's an important planet. Anyways, let's talk about the conjunction of the sun with of the let's talk about the conjunction of the sun with Mercury. And this conjunction has a dual aspect, two sides of one coin. On one hand, it indicates high intellectual abilities, a good potential for learning, communicativeness, and initiation in dialogue. People with this kind of conjunction always have their own opinion. Sometimes it is even difficult to persuade them about anything. But considering that both planets in Virgo, which is, as I mentioned earlier, an earth sign, these two planets slow down these characteristics in him, this potential, and let's say energy. With an earthy Mercury, the mode of thinking is more reserved in communication, and the assimilation of information is slower. But the long-term memory is much better developed than if Mercury was an, I don't know, air sign or a fire sign. For example, like my Mercury is in Gemini, meaning my short memory is better than my long-term memory. And that is very, very true. Going back to Jungkook, he prefers specifics, facts, and evidence proven in practice. He knows how to structure information and perceive manuals and schemes better than continuous theory. Despite this indication, their creative mind and artistic abilities do not weaken, and on the opposite, with Mercury conjuncting Pluto, a planet of globality, a planet of power, a planet of transformation, signifying very strong vocal skills, but more about it in the career and money part of the reading later on. On the other side of the conjunction of Sun and Mercury, the other side of the coin, I'd say, rather negative also, there is a so-called burnout. The burnout of Mercury in the Sun makes the person perceive any information subjectively, taking it to heart and personally, thinking that they are being talked about and in general making him very difficult to argue with. Stubbornness is the word that I'm looking for right now. This is complemented and confirmed by the negative aspects of the Sun with Pluto. The person is likely to constantly get confronted in the collective, feeling uncomfortable, and even tends to pick on himself and desire to put on a mask, not showing who they actually are. Looking at the bigger picture, Sun square Pluto indicates a difficult, conflicting, and domineering character. The person wants to be an influential and significant person in the group, but it turns out that when expressing their opinion, yeah, in this case it's Jungkook, or
Space
just manifesting
emotions.
himself,
How you
he
feel?
always ends
How you
up being
feel?
the scapegoat and
Yeah,
often
I
an
feel good, man.
outcast.
오늘도 많이 긴장했어요.
And I think he did talk about that a little bit in one of the lives. He mentioned like not specifically about BTS, but just overall other people around him. The collective literally does not get along, does not accept the individuality of the person, their interests, opinions, aspirations. And also want to add with all of the hate that he got when he was smoking and when he was sleeping on lives, like people didn't understand him. That's kind of the vibe that I'm trying to give an example of this type of aspect. As a result, the person not only does not get what they want, but also faces a range of problems like tense relationships in the group, hate, unpleasant experiences, and a sense of rejection, just like pretty much anyone would feel like in a situation when someone would talk about them. This is where the ninth archetype of the hermit shows its colors in contrast to the first archetype. Yet it also means that he may be a very strong-willed and kind of person who only listens to himself. Like he has to kind of learn, like the previous aspect that I was just talking about, kind of force him to learn how to listen to himself, interpret like all information separately to all of the subjectivity that can come on him, like filter everything through him. Yeah, he kind of gave it off on a Weber's Live when he started to talk about the tattoos he decided to cover up because his friends would point them out in a negative form, as well as his anti-fans. The hermit archetype puts deep meaning into everything, and when he talked about his tattoos, he had meaning for nearly every single one. That's kind of like an addition to the hermit archetype in general, like one of the points that hermit is about. Also, hermits like him close up to a lot of people, as I said earlier, as they get anxious of being misunderstood. And
아니,
one of their gone right
물어보면
traits, or
설명해주세요.
something that he can move
물어보면
forward to
계속
as a
얘기하시는데
hermit,
들어준다고.
is to overcome this fear, understand that people will accept him for who
다른
he
사람도 안
actually
들어주는
is,
사람이 있어요.
and would love to hear and would love to find out
아니 뭐
more of his
그렇게
world that he
생각하니까
keeps inside of
고마워요.
him. But
나한테 와서
lately, he
고맙다고.
seems to stop caring about opinions of others. With the song 7 released in explicit language,
아무튼
drinking on lives, expressing his mental state, expressing himself through the way that he dresses up,
불량이라고?
Jungkook learned to defend his
나는
position and
진짜로
what he stands
불량이냐고
for, as
여러분들이.
well as argue and debate, which is a very good trait as it
내
doesn't
중에
make him a people pleaser anymore.
빠지면 안 되는
It
거
shows that now he has
빠지면
that
안
strong
되는 거
personality that he has been building
빠지면
up
안
through
되는
years of being part of
나머지는 빠져도
BTS
돼.
and now as a solo singer.
마음에 들면 빠지면 안 되지.
And as I mentioned earlier, even if something does bother him, like rumors, he won't show it. He will speak out, but he won't fully show that he cares that much, even though it can still hurt him inside. In any case, the aspect with the sun strengthens Mercury, that conjunction that I was talking about all this time, signifying that Jungkook is overall an intelligent and versatile person. People, in general, can think one thing that is governed by Mercury, whilst react and act differently. That's where Mars comes into play. And in his case, Mars sits in the watery sign of Scorpio, that we all deeply, deeply love deep inside. This indicates that as a man, he's passionate, strong-willed, resilient, and with a very strong character, with a drive. He knows how to bend people, literally, and circumstances to his will. With this aspect, the individual usually acts risky and tends to delay projects, work, and decisions until like a crisis point. But that is not bad for him specifically. And as I mentioned earlier, it boosts his battery, his ego, and also such state is his comfort zone. I remember when he talked about making and finishing up the song 7, it was literally in the span of like 1 or 2 months. So it wasn't like a big, he didn't have that much time to finish that song. And it was just very out of the blue and um, so spontaneous. That's the word I'm trying to look for. And this aspect is complemented by the square between Mercury and Pluto further, revealing the Jungkook's shadow. And well, before I say anything, like, please let's not go into the crazy fan protective mood as I am looking at the chart here. I'm not judging from personal bias and I am myself a big fan of his work. But personality is personality and all humans have both angel and devil inside of them, so please no hate. Anyways, going back to the square between Mercury and Pluto, literally that aspect screams a red flag in a guy. But I will talk more about that red flag when we're going to get to the part in regards to relationships area for him. Okay, so let's move on from Mercury and Mars to the North and South nodes. If we now look at the numerological chart, this previous incarnation code 1899 at the bottom of the chart, as well as the South node in the second house in Pisces in the astrological chart, they both suggest experiences with love magic, dark magic, just general magic, Kabbalistic, esoteric kind of theme, psychic abilities, and connections with other realms in his previous incarnations. There is accumulated experience in esotericism, and it's highly reflected and seen through his tattoos, his kind of vibe, energy, the magnetic looks and charm. But also Pisces is the most musical sign of all, hence his talent of mesmerizing and hypnotizing with his beautiful, gorgeous voice may also come from the past lives. Finally, in this video, I would love to talk about and explain to you the four planetoids. As I mentioned earlier in the very beginning of the video, the part in astrology that many astrology readers don't even know about, or they don't really know how to analyze, or they just don't really mention about it. Planetoids are, let's say, not planets, but stars around our solar system, which still do have a certain effect and have very interesting names. And their names that given to them have an effect on us. And those planetoids are Psyche, which is the soul. It's, let's say, the angel in our chart, as well as the spirit, which is, let's say, the God in our chart, the something that we, let's say, like a destiny or purpose that we're moving towards to, that our psyche, our soul is moving towards to. So they kind of go like in a pair in our life. And then we also have the karma, which is the cause and effect, the lessons that the person goes through, which are shown through the chart using the zodiac sign and the house in which specific area and what these lessons are mostly about. And the Lucifer, which is the devil in our chart, our shadow, our biggest problem, let's say, our weakest point that we have and let's say, the devils that we fight. The karma of a person is one of the most important indicators in the whole natal chart, which helps to explain to the person what they came on earth for and what lessons they are to undergo and learn from this incarnation. In Jungkook's case, the karma planetoid is placed in Scorpio at 15th degree in the 10th house. So let's see what does it mean. Any planetoid in Scorpio is always a tough aspect, and it signifies that there shall be plenty of lessons and crises that one will have to overcome during his life. The individual will have to undergo many trials, as Scorpio is associated with a swamp as well as the devil himself, not just for some unexplanatory reason. Adding on to the fact that the planetoid is in the 15th degree, which in Tarot is the major arcane of the devil himself. Furthermore, the fact that the position is in the 10th house indicates more specifically to what the main lessons will be related to, and that is his career, business, the profession that the person chooses, which in Jungkook's case is being an artist, a singer, as well as a model, and who knows, maybe in the future an actor or even a business owner himself. With the additional planetoid Lucifer, which is the devil itself and not just an association like in case of karma planetoid, in Scorpio is in the 9th degree in the 10th house, connotating that not just in his career but in general he will encounter, and well, he definitely has already, gossip, rumors, judgments, envy, as ninth degree represents the major tarot arcane of the Hermit, and in its gone wrong situation, indicating not just temptations toward darkness, but also alienation from society and literally being interpreted as an outcast, or in other words, a white crow by others. And I mentioned that earlier in the video. Both planetoids, Karma and Lucifer, also hint extreme trials regarding alcohol, narcotic substances, any kind of dependencies and addictions, as well as the desire to make agreements with lower forces, more precisely with the devil himself. Seeking help in black magic is completely prohibited with such planetoid positions in the chart, though really desired and tempted, because there has already been contact with these powers in his past incarnation, if we are to consider both the natal chart and the numerological chart, which I talked about before. And there will be many opportunities in this life to turn to these temptations. Now, let's consider the two most important positive planetoids in Jungkook's chart, which are Spirit and Soul. They determine the main mission that the Spirit, i.e. God, has defined for Jungkook and what his soul has chosen for itself to complete. The Spirit is in Scorpio at 25th degree in the 11th house. Interestingly, the Spirit, like the previous asteroids, or in other words planetoids, was chosen in the same zodiac sign, which is Scorpio, to help overcome the obstacles of the sign, to help develop the karmic and the Lucifer lessons easier, or let's say complete the Scorpio lessons under karmic and Lucifer planetoids easier. The Spirit in Scorpio shows great power and strength that supports Jungkook throughout his entire life. Literally the energy of a whole army, I shall say, as the planetoid itself is in the 7th degree, which is a major arcane of Chariot in Tarot, which is Chariot is warrior, championship, growth, and perspectives. Moreover, this power will be enhanced by his popularity and fame by being in the public eye due to planetoid being in the 11th house. The more he reveals himself on stage, on social media, to people and to the world, the more opportunities will be given to him by the Spirit itself. It was destined for him to become famous. Like, it is his destiny that God has chosen for him in this incarnation. Furthermore, when I talk about him becoming famous and shining to the global world, I literally mean to the whole world and not just his country of birth, with his soul in Libra in 2nd degree in the 9th house. 9th house is the representation of globality, of something which is abroad, which is beyond a comfortable environment, beyond his country. His soul came to open up to the world, to diplomacy, as the soul is in Libra, to establish connections with people rather than succumbing to rumors and gossip, which are part of the lessons in his life. Making connections and friends, again, all of that interlinking to the Libra zodiac sign, and being at the 2nd degree, showing his true nature to closed ones. Yeah, instead of wearing the mask of a cold higher priestess, which is the major arcane, second major arcane in the tarot, who cannot show her true self to anyone. He is meant to open up and work on his gone bride sign, which is being able to listen to his gut feeling and expressing it through his real personality, through his real identity, yeah, to those who are part of his life and to those who he cares about, who care about him, his friends. Yeah, and that's why BTS and ARMY, those who he cares about, appear in his life and they are part of his life, as this is something that his soul chose to do and to undergo as a lesson and fulfill his mission. I pushed a lot of stuff that I could discuss in part 1 into part 2 due to this video first off turning out to be very long, but also because I have a lot to say about his money, career, and love life. Hence, certain things interlinking with part 1 would make more sense to be put into part 2. I really wanted this video to be as interesting as possible, as well as I want to thank you for waiting so patiently for it in the first place, and hope to see you in the next part of Jungkook's natal chart reading, which shall be on my YouTube channel very, very soon. If you enjoyed this, hit me with a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. I also have a TikTok and Instagram profile where I post daily tarot readings and moon cycle calendars. So if you feel like that is something of your interest too, click on the link below.